Hello again, Stitch and Jules here with a new video on, I thought I would talk about how I actually organize and set up my large cross-stitching projects. I think that, I know when I first started doing the big projects, it was daunting just because I didn't know how to organize it. I didn't know how to make sure that I had everything I needed when I started and that I didn't lose anything in the process. And, once I kind of got that worked out, now I sort of have a process that I do, but there is no one right way to do it. I'm just going to show you what I do, but if something else works better for you, then just go with it. Because that's the great thing about cross-stitching is that it's very individualized. So I'm going to start by showing you a project that I don't know if I've actually shown on my channel yet, but it's called Rainy Waterloo Place, London, 1899. And it's a project that I got off of Cross Stitch Collectibles about a year ago, and I just started working on it a few months back, and I really enjoy it. This is not a good picture of it. I'm going to actually show you a bit. Well, that's more of a black and white. That looks better than it looks live. But it's a large project. I'm doing it on 14 count Ada. The reason why I'm doing it on 14 count is because as I get a little older, I'm finding that 14 count is just easier to work with. I like how soft it is compared to the 18 count, especially in the beginning of a project. And so it's just something that I find that's just easier for me to do. So this finished size of this particular project is going to be 25 inches by 18¼ inches. It's one of my dogs. And when you add in the border and whatnot, we're talking about a project that is roughly 3 feet by 2 feet. So it's rather large. So when I'm doing a project like that, the first thing I do is I print out all the pages of the project. And what I do is I put them in these little laminated folder things that, just normal office supply store has. And I just put everything in there in order. And that way I know where my pattern is at all times. I'm just going to kind of pull out so you can sort of see, all my different things. So everything is in order. And I also print out, of course, I usually do a couple different copies of the color code, the stitch code, and I also put that in its own separate little folder thing. It protects it from getting dirty, from getting torn and whatnot, and I find that it just saves me from having to reprint it out later if I go ahead and take care of it in the beginning. So I do that. The next thing I do is, well, I'll usually then store all the rest of the pages in a binder. I have these big, huge binders, of course, that have all my other projects in here. I've got 2 of these that are full, and to be perfectly honest, I probably need a third because these are not doing a great job of holding on to everything. But like, I have my Star Wars project here that I haven't really gotten very far on, but it's all here for whenever I need it. I also get these, I'm sure most of you guys, I think I've seen most of you guys use these little DMC thread organizers. Basically I put them in order. I will put them in, this one is kind of all jumbled and out of order right now, but I'll actually literally start from like the upper left corner, and I'll start with the lowest number and then work my way up, just so that when I'm doing a project I know exactly where the thread is, and I don't have to go searching for it, because I find that the larger the project, the more colors, the more organized you have to be with your thread management, just because you don't want to spend more time looking for the proper color than you need to. And that, once I learned that, things went a lot faster. Next up is I get a project bag, and I love these things. I actually got this from the stitching store here in Denver, Colorado. It's a great cross-stitch store here, and it's basically, it's just sort of like it's kind of like well, can you see? It looks like it is, come on guys, you know this, you probably know this better than me, but it's just very soft fabric, basically. It's waterproof, has a little zipper at the top. It's great for travel because you can just store everything inside of it. It's an all-in-one sort of thing, but it keeps everything protected and prevents it from getting too dirty. So that's a good thing. Next thing that I go to is I try to choose a proper frame size. Now, a lot of people that I've seen on YouTube will actually use those lap frames. They use the standing frames that are particularly large, and a lot of times they tend to they do them way better than I do. It's the technique where you go down with one hand and then you're underneath you're underneath with the other hand, you pull it through, and then you go back up and whatnot. I just can't do it that way. I have tried, and I poked myself, or I poked other things too much, and so I just can't do it that way. And I've found that for me, with my history of I've had neck surgery and things like that, I can't really bend over in front of a project too much. So I tend to sit back in my chair, kind of curl my feet up, and I do my cross stitch sort of right in front of me. And so I use these plastic frames. I love the plastic ones. I started out with wooden, and then one of my dogs went and chewed them all up, and so I converted over to the plastic. This is actually quite large. This is probably roughly about a 10-inch, maybe 12-inch hoop frame, and I find these to be too large now for me. I don't like them, again, because as I'm doing it, I'm right-handed, and I do this all the time, and when it's too large, it's just too much motion for me. I like economy of motion, and that's just too much. So I'm going to actually show you the actual project and what I converted to, because it's just easier for me to manage. And all I do is I just use this little frame, which is probably more along the lines of about a 6-inch, 5 to 6 inch frame. It helps keep it, stiff enough for me so that I can manage everything easily. And it only highlights one page at a time, so it works pretty well for me. Next phase is preparing to stitch. Is you can see where I've marked, and I've only marked one page. I'm only marking one page at a time, and the reason why I do that is because, well, first of all, I'm new at marking. I just started marking, and I just don't want to necessarily mark the whole project for fear that I will make a mistake someplace, and that I will, it'll take me a long time to get down here, and I may not be as cautious page for page for page. If I get down here and I'm off, then it's not good. So I just go a page at a time. I mark a page at a time. I do a page at a time. It's just easier for me, and if I make a mistake, it's a lot less time to kind of fix it. But the next thing I do is I pull out one page at a time, and I use a just a regular old board here and a clipboard, and I just put one page on it at a time, and you can see that I highlight. I'm a highlighter. I like to highlight as I go when things are off, and because I've marked the lines on the page, I'm able to kind of jump ahead a lot easier and without making mistakes than before. I go both across and down, kind of depending upon what color I'm using, just to kind of minimize having to change colors and whatnot. But so this is my standard, what I use. I only have one page at a time that I do, and so that's how I do that. And then finally, I'm just going to show you the project that I've been working on. I really like it. It's I like the period pieces, and I like the sepia tones of the project itself. And so let me just pull back and just kind of show you. So you can see there's actually like a church steeple there, and it's just an old city street basically, but you can see how much further I have to go, roughly 3 feet by 2 feet. So that's what I'm working on right now as a break from the massive cross stitch project that I still have to show you. But I just wanted to go through some things that I find useful when I'm doing large cross stitch projects, so that if you want to do one, at least you have someplace to start. But like I said before, do what feels right to you. Organize the way that you like. I'm certainly not the most organized cross stitcher out there, but organization is key when you're doing this. So I want to show you my t-shirt. Eat, sleep, cross stitch, which is awesome. Sometimes I wish I didn't have to sleep because I could cross stitch more. But anyway, have a great rest of your day. Have fun stitching, and I will see you soon. Take care.